Is it just me, or does Hollywood not really care anymore? I mean, even about making a profit or a good movie, they don't care about the outcome regardless of the situation. And I think that is a stunning conclusion to come to, because Hollywood usually cared about money in the past, even if they never cared about the story, the creativity, or the production. They cared about the profits. And I think that is the thing that brought together the fan bases of popular IPs and, of course, Hollywood money-grubbing producers that only cared about profit. It was about making money, and that seems to be a goal that has fallen by the wayside just by looking at the productions of many titles that are coming out in these past few years. Just looking at Disney itself with its projects and animation and live action adaptations with Snow White, and of course Marvel and its casting of the characters for the Fantastic Four and many other properties. It's everywhere, and at the helm of it is HBO itself with its wild casting decisions that are mostly ignoring the entirety of fan bases, regardless of the profit or the creativity of the projects that they're working on. Hollywood doesn't care, and I want to understand why. And of course, when it comes to Hollywood disasters, the first thing that comes to mind to me is the casting of Ellie for The Last of Us HBO adaptation of the most famous game that has come out in the past 20 years. And I think that is the thing that is gnawing at my mind whenever I'm watching the decisions happening in Hollywood recently, where we get ridiculous casting choices that overall inhibit the production and progression of TV shows and stories outright. And I think that's the thing that I have been seeing so much within the development of a lot of these properties, where I'm looking at scenes where characters just seem too small, too childish to even be put in the position where I can have the believability of something actually being real. And I think that's the thing I see with Ellie and Last of Us Season 2. And that is the thing that kind of brought me up to this topic, thinking like, wow, this is terrible casting. And I think we always got some terrible casting in the past. At least we had a good actress to go with it sometimes. And sometimes we just had a pretty person that got the role because they were pretty. And I know that was a problem in the past in Hollywood, but that's not the problem anymore, because we consistently do not get the pretty actresses anymore. Not to say anything about the actors in this TV show, but I think consistently we just don't get that activity in Hollywood anymore. I think the miscast is the new pretty girl of the 90s for the modern day era of Hollywood. Instead of getting a bumbling, brain-dead blonde to be put in a prominent position for a TV role in Hollywood, now we just get a person that is outwardly miscast that disrupts the entire flow of the show that you're watching. And I think that's what's happening with Bella Ramsey in The Last of Us Season 2, where I'm just watching her, I'm like, this is unbelievable. I know they're having a lot of memes come up about her. I don't want to be mean about it, but it kind of rings true, where I can't even look at her on the screen without seeing a meme now, because it's just so off-putting and disoriented to watch her play the character Ellie, who is essentially not really seen through her. And I think that's the thing that I have a problem with a lot of the castings that are happening in Hollywood nowadays, where I'm looking at the characters and I'm thinking, this doesn't really look like the character. Although with Sue Storm in the Fantastic Four, I think Vanessa Kirby is fine. I think she's not terrible. I think she could do a good version of Sue Storm. I think she has the acting chops, so that is to be determined. But I can't blame people that are having problem with her overall look and appeal from the previous actress that played her, Jessica Biel. I think the same could be said for Reed Richards, where he just doesn't feel like the Reed Richards, at least Pedro Pascal doesn't feel like the Reed Richards I know, and I think everything I saw with him in the trailer doesn't feel authentic to the character. I think that is the miscasting that we're seeing consistently in Hollywood nowadays, where they're choosing these actors outside of what their skills are, outside of what they look like, and outside of what's actually good for the content that they're producing. Of course, this is always happening in Hollywood. Like I said before, there's always been miscastings, but I think the choices this time are so detrimental that it has me thinking, oh, something else must be going on here. Is it just Nepo casting? Is it just Nepo baby casting, as people have suspected with Bella Ramsey, that she may have connections with some executives? I know her father's a producer, so that may be the one thing that's forcing her into Hollywood right now. That's the case we've been seeing in Hollywood a lot recently. These kind of nondescript actors that are not that good, not that great, not terrible, but they're kind of plain and boring and disengaging. And I think that's what we see with a lot of Jack Quaid movies. I don't really dislike him. I liked him on The Boys for one season, but I think this is the type of actor that we see now consistently in Hollywood, where they're just a descendant of some big time Hollywood actor, and they just not necessarily have the skills. I think same thing with Denzel Washington's son. I never really thought he was a great actor. I think it's the same thing with Lenny Kravitz's daughter, with Zoe Kravitz and Johnny Depp's daughter. I never really thought they had the skills, but they've been put in positions because of their parents. I think that may be the thing that we're seeing more of now in Hollywood, where people are being chosen not based on their looks, not based on their talent, not based on anything else than being related to some of the people that are in the movies. And I think that's something we've seen in Hollywood a lot, but not for the star actors. You are usually chosen because you look good on camera. And I think that even went for the people that had no talent. You were chosen because you look good on camera. And I think that is not the thing that's happening anymore. We have people being chosen because strictly they have the parental backing that puts them in that position. And they don't even make an attempt to actually look good. And I think that's what we've been seeing with a lot of the choices within Hollywood recently, where we just have these actresses that just don't look good on camera, but they're being forced onto us everywhere. And I think that's specifically what we've been seeing with Jack Quaid, because I'm tired of seeing him in everything. And I think that is one of the key things that's bringing about this kind of evolution of the bad casting choices we've seen occur within Hollywood these past few years, where consistently we've just been getting bad casting choices. But I think more than anything, the bad casting choices come back from a need for representation. And I think that lands us with the casting choices for Snape happening for the Harry Potter franchise, for the HBO series that is coming out. And of course, we all heard about the news about the new Snape to be played by someone that is a completely different race, which is changing the racial dynamics of what is happening with the character, specifically Harry Potter's father. It kind of puts him in the place where he's bullying racist individual that hates black people, because that is the story that we read from Harry Potter, except he was a white guy that he was bullying, but now he's bullying a black guy because of this casting change that we see right now. And I think this is going down to what we see at the core of a lot of the bad casting choices and race swaps, gender swaps, where it has to be done because of political and societal reasons that they want to see reflective in the current day properties that they're working on. And I think that's what we get here with the race swap of Snape for Papa Esedu, who is now playing the role. I think it might be okay. It's supposed to be a talented actor. I don't know if that's going to be the case. And maybe they may be making some changes to Harry Potter himself. They may be making Harry Potter a half black kid. That's a possibility as well. So that is a situation we just have to look out. But I think that is one of the motivations for these bad casting choices that we have been seeing spread all throughout Hollywood. I think it goes down to this need to actually add these gender racial politics within the overall production that they're working on. We heard the rules that have been imposed by the Academy to actually include these guidelines of forcing these equitable standards, whether it goes back to the staffing or the casting of a lot of these shows. And I think this is reflective of what we're seeing right now with a lot of the properties that are being made, where we're seeing a lot of these forced diversity choices being reflected in a lot of the casting that we see happening now. And I think that's the same thing that we're seeing with the Fantastic Four and the Silver Surfer being replaced by Norrin Radd, a little bit character from one of the Soul comics that came out that included her for like a half a page. And now she's the main enemy. She's one of the main villains for the Fantastic Four movie. And I think that is the thing that we see consistently. We heard Kevin Feige was forced to actually make this gender swap. So it just shows that it's coming from top down, that you need to add these diverse elements into these genres or these properties, because it's in line with their political motivations and it's in line with the rules that they set in tow to actually enforce these guidelines of injecting these gender racial biases within the properties that they're making, kind of sapping the creativity if you have to follow the guidelines of what you need to put into your script before it even starts to be written. I think that is the thing that we're seeing being reflected back in the industry, where we have these forceful pushes of people that just simply do not blend in with the work that is being put out there. And I think that is the thing that we're seeing with Bella Ramsey in Last of Us, where she just doesn't fit the character, and it's obvious she's been put into the place for different reasons outside of what she's supposed to be there for, to be actual representation of the character that we all know from the franchise. And I think that is a failure that we're seeing all across Hollywood right now, where they really don't care about the profits. They don't really care about making something creative. That has often been the case regardless of the situation. But I think it all goes down to the politics of the situation, whether it's the diversity hires or whether it's just putting someone related to you in a position to succeed or be in utter disgrace because of their failure. And I think that's what we're seeing right now with Bella Ramsey. And I think that's what we're going to see with a lot of the casting choices we have seen for the past few years. But this is just my 2 cents on the situation. Maybe you disagree with me. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.